Close the doors of your mind from all carnal will or carnal thought, all emotions, all desires, all fears, all doubt, all laziness, all inordinate affection. Anything within one's mind in the center of one's mind does not allow one to come to balance within oneself, within one's frontal lobe, within one's cranial nerves, within one's cell salts, within one's thought process, and their makashaba. For today is the day of freedom. Today is the day of warning. Today is the day that Yahuwah has made for his people, for those who are willing to yield themselves over to Bereshith. For Yahuwah formed the Arats in 6 days, and he rested the seventh day. The Shabat, he ceased, he Shabbat that day, knowing that we acknowledge the one who given us this Yom, and to celebrate his accomplishments. It's Etzah for us in this earth. Those who are walking in the light, the aura that was from the beginning, the light of the city, the light of the earth, the light of the center of your heart, of your mind, of your central thought process within oneself. For this Yom, we acknowledge the one who made all of the Har, the mountains of the Arats, all the ranges and the gorges of the earth, all of the valleys, and all of the places where he allows his water to dwell. The one who formed and shaped the Shabai Shamaims by his breath, by his Ruach, by his Neshama, by his intellect. The one who formed it by thought and the power of his thoughts. The one who gives a life to all creatures and all beings, whether sentient or non-sentient being, in the unseen world and this world. The one who gives our 22 alphabet to form and shape words with our thought process and with our speech. The one who allows us to live and to kai and to bear children. For an ish and isha to be one, a kad. He allows these things. He creates shalom, he creates peace. He creates calamity. Has not evil arise in the city, and had not Yahuwah done it, had not a storm been sent, had not Yahuwah done it, had not a person been blind, had not Yahuwah done it, and had not a person eyes been opened, has not Yahuwah done it through his debar, through his mercy and compassion. For he gives and he takes away. He wounds, he kills, he makes alive. Yahuwah Elohim and his son, his Ben Yahusha, whom he sent from the highest Shamayim to redeem man from their sin, from their thought process, and their rebellion and their stubbornness and their pride, to acknowledge the Creator, or how they would say in Spanish, the Creator, the one who gives life to all creatures and beings, and gives us rain and snow, and allows us to breathe and to eat from the earth. Yahuwah Elohim. And this Yom, we Hagah, we Shakur, we meditate on his Debar, we meditate on his truth, we meditate on his Debar, and we acknowledge him as the one who gives us life and understanding, and to live with compassion and love and ahab. So this Yom, as we move forward, we move forward in compassion, we move forward in love, we move forward in truth, we move forward in purity of mind and purity of thought. And no longer do we live our lives for our own self, but for your truth and your true and righteous walk. So this is Nazarene Acts of the Apostle Shaly'shy, chapter 17. It says, suggestions of the old serpent. Above all, therefore, you ought to understand the deception of the old serpent and his cunning suggestions, who deceive you, as it were, by prudence. Right? It says, and as his cunning suggestions deceive you, is only as it were by prudence, and as by a sort of reason creeps through the senses, and deceiving you a great gain. Deceiving you is a great gain. Therefore, he insinuates into your mind, so into our thought process, opinions of Elohim of whatsoever kinds, only that your sin is his comfort. So we look at our sin and the things that we do and the things that we do on a day-to-day basis. He's trying to, deceive oneself and to make you comfortable in doing wrong and sin. For his immorality was condemned from the beginning to eat dust. Right, just like Adam and Kuah in the garden, when they were interacting, with the when Kua was interacting with the serpent, he what? He caused them to commit sin, and he said he what? He made them eat dust, right? And it says for that he caused to be again resolved into dust him who had been taken from the dust, even till the time when your beings will be restored. It says, being brought through the fire, as we will instruct you more fully at another time. It says, from him therefore proceeds all errors, right? So look at all your errors that you do, and doubts. So all the doubts in your mind and all the errors in your mind and all the things that one does, guess what? It comes from him. It proceeds all errors and doubts, by which you are driven from Amunah, or faith, and belief in one Elohim. That's the whole point. Just like Daud said, if you don't lose sight of these things, my son, your sleep will be sweet. That Yahuwah make the Shamayims in the earth. Why? Because Satan gonna try to get you to think and try to take you away from that. He's trying to take you away from that. He's gonna have error and doubt. He always bring that. He's gonna teach that. Right? So this is Apocalypse of Shadrach, Pseudepigrapha, Old Testament. It says, Shadrach said to him, it was by your will that Adam was deceived, my master. You commanded your Malachim to worship Adam. But he who was first among the Malachim disobeyed your order and did not worship him. And so you banished him because he transgressed your commandment, and did not come forth to worship your creation of your hands. If you loved Adam, why did you not kill Satan, the artificer of all iniquity? Now you look at the super being, right? Satan ain't stupid. He is very wise, right? He's very wise, and he understands how to take you down. He took down a person in the image and likeness of Yahuwah himself. He's very skilled at it. And it says what? He said, why you didn't kill him? He says, who can fight against an invisible spirit? Right? You look at your invisible battle that you got to fight. In order to understand your invisible battle, you got to understand earthly things. When you understand earthly things, you'll start understanding spiritual things and how to fight an invisible spirit. Right? He enters into the hearts of men like a smoke, men and women, or a child like a smoke, and teaches them all kinds of sin. Why? He wants to corrupt your thoughts. He wants to create errors and doubts and make you not think there's one Elohim. That's his whole point. That's the same thing you see him. You hear him speaking on television. You'll see him speaking in the media. You'll see him speaking on television. You'll see him speaking on YouTube. You'll see him speaking in teachers. Right? You see him speaking through their mouth. Why? Because he's trying to get you to do something. How you say? Teach you doubt, teach you errors, and try to get you to commit sin. That's all he's trying to do. He said he even fights against you, the immortal Elohim. And so what can pitiful man do against him? He calls us pitiful. What are we going to do against him? Yet have mercy, master, and destroy punishment. Otherwise, receive me also with the sinners. Because you start thinking about him and how many people he deceived over thousands of years. 6,000 years, over 6,000 years of him deceiving people. Right? He even fights against, he said, even come against you, Yahuwah, and guess what? And your word. And it says what? He said, receive me. He said, for if you will not be merciful to the sinners, where are your mercies and where is your compassion, Yahuwah? And Yahuwah Elohim said to him, be it known to you that everything, that which I commanded man to do, is within his reach, man and woman. It's in your reach. Can you touch it? I made him wise in the air of Shamayim and earth, and I subordinated everything unto him, and every living thing flees from him and from his face. Having received my gifts, however, he became a stranger and an adulterer and a sinner. He received the gifts, but he became a stranger, an adulterer, and a sinner. He said, tell me what sort of father would give an inheritance to his son, and having received the money, and his son goes away, leaving his father, and becomes an alien, a stranger, and in the service of strangers. The father then, seeing that the son has forsaken him and gone away, darkens his heart, and going away, he receives his wealth and banishes his son from his kabod, because he forsook his father. He forsook his father. You think about a child who forsakes their father. He says, how is it that I, the wondrous and jealous Elohim, all Yahuwah, have given everything to him, but he, having received them, became an adulterer and a sinner? He said, I'm giving you everything. I'm giving you all these things. He said, but now you want to come and be adulterer and the sinner, Adam. He said, I'm giving you all these things. And that's what you start looking at when one receives things from Yahuwah. He said, I've given you everything, but now you want to go and do that? Right, but who can fight against an invisible Ruach? But he's going to teach you error, doubt, and he's sin. That's what Satan going to do. He's going to get you to doubt everything. Anything that's happened to you, right? This is a Hanuk, 1 Enoch 49:1. So wisdom flows like water. So you look at Kukma, just like water flowing. Just like water that flows down in the spring and in the autumn rain, the time when the times do the harvest. It flows just like water. And Kabod is measureless before him forever and ever. For he might in all the mysteries of righteousness and oppression will vanish like a shadow having no foundation. The elect one stands before Yahuwah, the master of spirits. Right? You look at Yahusha, you look at the one who, stand before the master of spirits, the ruler of spirits. That's lying spirits, all types of lustful spirits. He rules over all these spirits. Spirits of brokenheartedness, Asmodeus, Asmodee, right? He rules over Mammon, Belgregor. He moves over all these spirits, right? He rules it over all of it. His kabod is forever and ever, and his power is unto all generations. He says, in him dwells the Ruach of wisdom, the spirit which gives thoughtfulness. So you look at your thoughts. It's a spirit that gives you thoughts, thoughtfulness, Ruach. But if you don't got the Ruach, guess what? Errors, doubt, and sin. That's what Satan gonna teach you. It says the Ruach of knowledge and strength, and spirit of those who have fallen asleep in righteousness. He shall judge the secret things, and no one will be able to utter vain words in his presence. Because Yahuwah is royalty. He is, majesty. He is the majesty. Right? You ain't going to be able to utter no vain words in his presence. Because everything that's visible or vain to you was made by the Ruach, by wisdom. Everything that you see in the world, it was made by wisdom, Kukma. And it's going to drop down like water. And guess what it says? For he is the elect one before Yahuwah, the master of spirits, according to his good pleasure. That's what wisdom does. Wisdom flows down that water. It flows down and gives drink to you in your mind and washing you. Right? But here we go. 2 Ezra 16:54. Behold, Yahuwah knows all the works of man, Adam, human beings, their imaginations and their thoughts of the heart and their mind. So he knows everything that you're thinking. He knows everything that one is thinking. He already knows what one is already thought about in the future, what might be said, what could be said. He already knows. Verse 55 says, which spake but the Debar, let earth be made, and it was made. He spoke to the Debar, and he already knew. He spoke it. He formed the earth, everything you see. Can you give consciousness to every single thing on the planet? No, you can't. Guess what he said? Let the Shaly'shy be made, and it was created. In his word were the stars made, and he knoweth the number of them. That's what we're acknowledging today. This rest day. What are we acknowledging? That he made all things in 6 days and rested the Shabbat Yom. This is what we're acknowledging. Guess what he says? He searches the deep and the treasures thereof. He had measured the sea and what it containeth. He measured all the earth. He measured all the water molecules, whether it's high frequency or a low vibrational frequency that changes the salinity and the shape of the water. Like he measured it all, right? He measured it all. And it says what? And he shut the sea in the midst of the waters, and with his word hath he hanged the earth upon the waters. Verse 59, he spreadeth out the Shamayim like a vault, and upon the waters hath he founded it. It said, in the desert hath he made springs of water and pools upon the tops of mountains. So you look at the top of your mountain. Look at the tops of the mountains. He put pools up there, right? Look at the top of your mind. Look at your mind as that mountain where he put pools of water and springs at the top. Why? That the floods may pour down from the high rocks to water you, your earth, who you are. So when one is standing and the water overflows off the top of your pool and it flows down the mountain, it flows down to your whole body and it starts to wash you. It starts to wash your body. and it becomes drinkable. Right? And it says what? Verse 61, he made man and put his heart in the midst of his body and gave him breath, life, and understanding. He gave him breath, life, and understanding. He gave him neshama, he gave him kai, and he gave him binah. He gave him understanding. Right? And it says, yea, the ruach of the Almighty Elohim, which made all things, and searcheth out all the things in the secrets of the earth. So anything that one holds as a secret in the earth, whether it's in an underground base, underground cavern, underground civilization, Yahuwah know it all. He said all the secrets of the earth, all your hidden agendas, all the hidden things and the hidden crime scenes that people have. He know it all. Verse 63, surely he knoweth your inventions, so he gonna know everything you're doing, all your plots and plans and your purposes, and what you think in your mind, in your heart. He know everything you're thinking. He know, I know what you're gonna think today. I know what you think you're gonna do tomorrow. I know what you're gonna do next week. I know what you're gonna do the week after. I know you're weak. I know parts of your mind ain't where it need to be at. I know all these things. Even them that sin, he already know. Because you know, those who sin, guess what? Satan taught it to them. Satan taught it to you. He taught you doubt. He taught you what? He taught you sin. Satan gave it to you. He said, even them that will listen to Satan, basically, and would hide their sin, or who will hide their relationship with Satan. Basically. Right? It says, verse 64, it says, therefore hath Yahuwah searched out all your works. I done seen everything you done did, and I will put you all to shame. That's every single person on the surface of the earth, and under the earth, and in the rakia. He said, I'm going to put you all to shame. Everybody. Right? Shaly'shy, Proverbs 3:1. My son, do not forget my teaching. My son or daughter. It says, but let your heart keep my commandments. Your heart and your mind. Keep my commandments. Why? For length of days and years and life and shalom will be added to you. So you don't want no peace? You don't want long life? You don't want to be added to you? Yahushua said what? Seek ye first the Malkuth, the kingdom, and all these things shall be added to you. He said, don't forget it. Don't forget the commandments either. And guess what he said? It'll be length of days and peace and added to you. People say, I want peace. I want shalom. I want length of days and long life. He said, just do this. He said, let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Don't even let it leave. Don't let it leave your mind, your heart. Don't let it leave your mountain. Don't let it leave where the pools of water are. Don't let it leave your garden. Don't let it leave where the trees that grow inside of you and the behaviors and the thing. Don't let love leave. Don't let faithfulness leave. Don't let it die. Don't let it die within you. That's the whole point. Don't let it die. And that's your job in the garden. Don't let it die. If you ever took care of a tree, you understand. If I don't water this tree, if I don't give it proper nutrients, if I don't speak to this tree right, then what happens? It'll die. Guess what it says? So will you find favor and good success. That's all it's going to give you. It's going to give you favor and good success. That's what's going to happen. He said, how do I know? Do something and see what happens. So you will find favor and good success in the sight of Yahuwah and man. So that's not only in your natural life, but also in the other one, unseen world. Not only in this world, but also in the unseen world. Trust in Yahuwah with all your heart. All of it. All your mind. And do not lean to your own understanding. Because if you lean to your own understanding, it's going to create doubt. It's going to create sin. It's going to create errors. In all your ways, acknowledge him. And he will make straight your paths. It's going to make straight your paths. What's straight? Straight is the gate that leads to life. Broad is the way that leads to destruction, and few that be that find it. Most people ain't going to find it. It's a straight way. Right? We're talking about straight is the gate. We ain't talking about a title. We're talking about a life. It's a straight life. Be not wise in your own eyes. Right? Fear Yahuwah and turn away from Ra. Turn away. It will be healing to your navel and refreshment to your bones. You got to stop doing evil. It'll be healing to your navel and refreshment to your bones. Like people think, oh, I keep a feast day or a Shabbat, or I keep a special occasion. I do all these things. But if you have Ra, it doesn't mean anything. Or I do this. I do this and I do that. I wear this. I wear that. If you have Ra, it doesn't mean anything. If you wise in your own eyes, it don't mean anything. If you lean into your own understanding, it don't mean anything. Right? If you ain't wrote on the table of your heart and you don't have love and faithfulness and you forget, it don't mean anything. Absolutely nothing. He said it'd be healing to your navel and refreshment to your bones. Right? The word for flesh is sure, or navel is sure. It'll be healing to your umbilical cord, your navel string, your connection, your string twisted. Right? Just like you have a connection, a child has a connection with his mother when it's in the womb. You have a connection with your mother and father in the highest Shamayim. It'll be healing to your navel string. Because how you saying? Because you have a child. He said, don't forget to take care of your child. Right? How you take care of your child? How you take care of your child? Turn away from Ra, evil. Don't let faithfulness and love leave you. Don't lean to your own understanding. Don't be wise in your own eyes. Don't forget. Guess what happens? It'll heal your child on the inside, your inner child. Your inner child that's connected to a string that you can't see. Word for healing is refuth. It's healing, cure, health. It'll cure you too. It's gonna cure health. It's gonna bring healing to your body. But if you listen to Satan, he gonna teach you sin, error, and doubt, and that's not gonna bring healing to your body and your umbilical cord and health to your body. It's not gonna heal your navel string, your unseen string. The word for refreshment is shikui. It'll be a refreshment. It'll be a drink, a beverage of moisture, refreshment drink. It's gonna give you a nice, cool glass of water, a nice spring water that flows from the mountain. It's gonna fill your lake up, your stream on the top of your mountain. It's going to be a fill of stream that it may flow down to water the earth, to water your body, that your whole mind may be watered and washed, and that your whole body may be washed. But you got to let it overflow. You ever seen a fountain that overflow? So the word for bones is a sheb. It's going to be healing and refreshment to your bones, or sikui, a stem, right? A stem, sorry. Sikui estem. It means bones, essence, substance. It'll be healing to your refreshment to your substance, your body, your bones, your substance, who you are. Bones of animal, limbs, members. It's gonna be healing to your whole body and refreshment to your bones. Just like how it is within oneself, the same way it will be for other people. But he said, don't be wise in your own eyes. Don't lean to your own understanding. Don't in all your ways acknowledge him. Don't forget. It's gonna be healing to your shore, your umbilical cord, and refreshment to your bones. And just like we spoke about before, why? Because when we start looking at who we are, we look at the deception of the world, right? You look at the placenta, and we understand that these things have branches, just like a tree. You were born in that capacity. Why do you think they take your placenta when you're born? Why do you think they take it and put it in a vault somewhere? Take your stuff. Why do you think they take it? Because they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know this. You think about when you were born into the world. Did they say, "Hey, you want to see the placenta?" No, the first thing they say is what? You want to see the child? Did they ever tell you want to see the placenta? Right? You want to see what it look like? Yeah, you came in this world like a tree, in a tree, inside of veins, just like branches, and you were born just like roots in the ground. Just like you look at roots in the ground that you see with giant trees and you see these giant roots, that's the same way you were born. And that umbilical cord is the tree trunk. How you say? The tree that extended to your mother. Just like you have an umbilical cord that extends all the way to your father. And guess where you are? In the roots. You are the child that's getting ready to be born. Right? So you look at just like our natural world, we look at the spirit world. As above, so below. Right? Look at our cord, our golden cord. Right? Look at our cord that go all the way up to the highest Shamayim. Right? Look at both worlds. You came into this world, this realm, in the placenta. You came out of that placenta and you came into this world. You burst forth, just like a tree gets planted in the earth and it comes out just like a seed. In the umbilical cord, you come into the unborn state in the placenta. Right? And then you're reborn into this world. The same way you get born into this world is the same way Yahushua, made you born again. Now you're getting reborn all over again, just like a tree in its roots. Just like a tree and its roots. You're getting reborn all over again. But hey, Satan don't want you to know this. He's going to create doubt, error. He's going to make you, try to get you commit sin. Because he don't want your connection to be restored. Your connection to be restored, then guess what happens? Then you become who you are. Then you understand who you are. And you'll be who you are, right? So you look at even your fingerprint, just like a tree getting cut in half. Right? You look at a tree and a placenta. Just like a tree being planted, You get your lungs and how you breathe, just like branches on a tree. That's why trees are important, so you can breathe properly. Same thing when it comes to your inward man. You need air. What does a tree need? You need air, ruach, sunlight. You need roots in the ground. You need soil. You need rain. You need water. You need all these things in order for one to breathe properly, for us to breathe properly. So what makes you think you don't need these things for you to breathe properly? You need the same thing. You need the very same thing, right? Just like the leaves on the tree, the very stems on the tree, they all have interconnectivity. You're interconnected with trees. When you walk into the forest, the sound vibration of the trees, they pick up on your sound vibration of trees, and they immediately bring you to balance. They immediately bring you to balance. That's why when you walk through the forest, you immediately have peace. You immediately have shalom. Why? Because it's important to understand that you're interconnected with these very things that you actually are walking through. You immediately have it. It's not something that takes place. It takes a while. No, it immediately happens. Right. So you look at the blood vessels in your veins, right? Look at the human heart, right? You look at your heart and you see how the blood pumps through your heart. From your deoxygenated blood from your left and right ventricle of your heart, and it pumps through your body. It allows your blood to, it pumps whatever is ingested into the body. So whatever you put in the body, that's what the heart going to do. It's going to pump that throughout the body. So if you put the right things in your body, then your heart going to pump this stuff all throughout, right? When you start looking at cleaning your whole body out. But all these are all part of who you are. You look at the Amazon, you look at the rainforest, you look at the Amazon River they have here, right? But you look at the Amazon River, you look at the rivers and the streams of the earth. They're jagged, just like any other tree, just like any other river that flows. They're jagged. It's just like roots on the tree, on the branches. It allows the earth to be alive. Yes, the earth is alive. It is a living organism, and so are you. So Matthew 18:2 says, and calling to him a child, he put him in the midst of them and said, truly I say to you, unless you become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of Shamayim. He said, you ain't going to get it. You're not going to understand it. You have to become like children. You have to. Right? It says, unless you become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of Shamayim. Whosoever humbles himself like a child, this child is the greatest in the kingdom of Shamayim. Whosoever receives one such child in my name receives me. But whosoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, Satan, it will be better for him to have a great millstone around his neck and be drowned in the depths of the sea. Go eat dirt. He said it'd be better. Mark 9:36. And he took a child and put him in the midst of them. And taking him in his arms, he said to them, whosoever receives such child in my name receives me. And whosoever receives me receives not me, but he who sent me. Because you got to be a child. You got to humble yourself like a child in order to be reborn. Mark 10:13, it says, and they were bringing children to him that he might touch them. And the disciples rebuked them. But Yahushua saw it. He said he saw it, and he was indignant and said to them, let the children come to me. Do not hinder them, for such belongs the kingdom of Yahuwah. Truly I say to you, whosoever does not receive the kingdom like a child shall not enter it. you're not coming. Like people saying, why do certain people don't receive intellect, knowledge, and truth? It's because they haven't humbled themselves like a child. He said they can't enter it. Broad is the way to destruction, and narrow is the way to life. And few that be that find it, right? Because you got to go through life. He said you got to become a child, yeah. You got Benjamin Button this thing. You got to go from old to young. Exactly. And he took them in his arms and baraked them, and laying his hands on them. So that's what Yahuwah does when you become his child. Right? He'll take you in his arms and he'll barak you, and he'll lay his hands on you. Be his child. Stay his child. Right? So this is Wisdom of Solomon, ODE 8 and 8. Hear the word of truth and receive the knowledge of Yahuwah. Your flesh may not understand what I'm about to say to you, nor your garments that which I'm about to declare to you. So you look at your flesh and your garments and the things you put on, the things you wear on a day-to-day basis, it's not going to understand what I'm getting ready to say. It's not. It says, keep my mystery, you who are kept by it. Don't let Satan put doubt and error in your mind and get you to commit sin. Keep the mystery. Keep Amunah, you who are kept by it, because that's what Satan's trying to do. He's trying to draw you away from faith, Amunah, and belief. That's all he's trying to do. And understand my knowledge, you who know me in truth. Love me with affection, you who love. Don't let love and faithfulness forsake you, children. For I turn not my face from my own, because I know them. He know who you are. He knows who you are. And before they had existed, I recognized them and imprinted a seal on their faces. I fashioned their members in my own breast. I prepared for them, that they might drink my Chdash milk and live by it. That's what infants do. It's like a mother nursing a brand new child till it gets the solid food. Here, you drink this milk. You be like, the milk tastes the same. It's the same milk, right? Let me guess. When you drinking milk, it's different. Out of a mother's breast, it's the same one. It's the same breast that you drink from. It ain't different. It's like it's the same thing. I don't want the same thing. It's like the children of Yasharal eating manna in the wilderness. I don't want that. It's the same thing. Why? It says, I am pleased by them, and I am not ashamed by them. For my work are they, and the power of my thoughts. So he giving you the Qdash milk to drink. He said, and he's telling you to receive it. Why? Because your flesh and your garments, they ain't gonna understand what's getting ready to be said. It's Tahalim, Psalms 51:10. Oh come, O children, listen to me, and I will teach you the fear of Yahuwah. What man is there who desires life and love many days, that he may see good? Keep your tongue from evil, and your lips from speaking deceit. It's speaking untruths. To speaking untruths from that which is from the beginning. To speaking untruths when it comes to Satan and his how you say his cunning deceit and your secret relationship that you have with him. He said, turn away from Ra and do good, and seek Shalom and pursue it. Seek peace and turn away from Ra. The eyes of Yahuwah are toward the righteous. You outwardly appear righteous. People outwardly appear righteous. I have on garments. I have on these turbans. I have on these robes. I have fringes on. I have different colored robes. I got like 25 different changes of apparel. I got turbans on. I got gold plates, gold bracelets. I got all these nice things, these beautiful things, these garments and these clothes. He's saying all these things. He said these things ain't gonna understand what's getting ready to be said. People look righteous. He said the eyes of Yahuwah toward the righteous. I keep a commandment. I keep Shabat. I do all these different religious things continually. But he said his eyes of Yahuwah toward the righteous, and his ears are open to their cry. His ears are only open to those who humble themselves like children. The face of Yahuwah is against those who do evil, Ra, to cut off the memory of them from the earth. He's going to remove you. He's going to remove you from this earth. He's going to remove you. I know people say, I don't want to humble myself like a child, but that's what you have to do. You have to become a child. Aleph Kaf 1:21 Peter, 1 Peter 2:2. Like newborn infants, long for the pure spiritual milk. Why? Because it's the same thing. It ain't gonna change. So be like, what do you mean? Pure spiritual milk? It's gonna say it's the same thing. What is this? that by it you may grow up unto salvation, if indeed you have tasted that Yahuwah is good. You tasted it? You got to grow up. That's what it's for. Just continue to get one to grow up. Right? It says, great, it's Tahalim, Psalms 111 and 2. Great are the works of Yahuwah, studied by all those who delight in them. Full of splendor and majesty is his works, and his righteousness endures forever. So you look at his righteousness enduring forever. Right? It's something that has to be studied. Right? The word for studied is darash. Great are the works of Yahuwah. Seek with care. Seek in prayer and worship. To practice, to study, to follow, to be sought, to be frequent, to seek, to resort, to be inquired, to investigate. All these things are what? A part of one's seeking, a part of one's studying. All these are aspects. How you gonna study? You gotta study. He said you gotta study yourself. Why? Because people say you're already being uncovered. So this is Yeshayahu 55 and 11. For as the rain and the snow come down from Shamayim, and do not return, but water the earth, making it bring forth sprout. Or dasha, right? Giving seed to the sower and bread to the eater. So shall my debar be that goes out of my mouth. It shall not return to me empty. It's just like water and snow. It's like water that flows from the top of the mountain down to the earth. Just like it flows down from your mountain down to your body, to the soles of your feet. But it shall accomplish that which I purpose, and shall succeed in the thing for which I sent it. So Yahuwah sending you to the bar, he's sending you the word. Don't reject it. You're rejecting your drink, and you're going to become a dry tree. You ain't going to bear no fruit. Right? Because we know the word for the bar is what? Speech, word, utterance, words. A word, a matter, judgment, commune, his word, everything he speaks. Business, occupation, acts, right? All these things got to be, he said, it's going to come out of my mouth, and it's not going to return to me empty. Well, I think Yahushua said, I got to be about my father's household, his business, right? Because it's not going to return to him void. He said, I got to do everything he sent me to do. And his mother held it in her heart. Like how many times somebody has said something you didn't understand at the time, but you held it in your heart. Like, what is he talking about? The word for we know the bar is Daleth Bith Resh. Because 206 is the 8. We know 8th day is the 8th day of circumcision, right? We know the whole thing, right? Because we know circumcision, you can't get rid of circumcision. That's just the bar. That's what he's doing now. Yahuwah does it. You get the Yad Ha-U'ah, right? We use the 26, we use the 8. We understand the 8th day circumcision. Yahushua and Yahuwah now was circumcised. Even Ishmael, Abraham, Yitzhak, all these people were circumcised. You look at Adam, he wasn't. But we look at all these other, but he starts thinking about circumcision of heart. But we're looking at all these things because he didn't know about flesh. But we start looking at these aspects, right? Marshally Proverbs 8 through 11. All the words of my Amar or mouth are righteous, and there is nothing twisted or crooked in them. There's nothing twisted or crooked in them. They are all straight, nakuwak, to him who understands, and right to those who find knowledge. Take my instructions instead of silver, and knowledge rather than gold. For wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare with her. Right? The word for Amar is utterance. The word for words is Amar, which is utterance, speech, word, promise, command, appointed unto, said. Word for crooked is ikesh, distorted, false, crooked, or perverse. Nothing is distorted, false, crooked, or perverse. It is his promise. The word for straight is nakuwak. It is straightforward, equitable, integrity, uprightness, innocence. It is your innocence. It is your innocence. All this, although the bar, all the Amar, the utterance is spoken. The word for Amar is utterance, speech, word, promise. So you get the promise. The word is the promise. The word is the promise. That's what the promise is. This is Luke or 8 and 11. Now the parable is this. The seed is the word of Yahuwah. Like you look at Zarah, right? We have it in here, but we go over it so many times. We go like the Zavar is what? The semen, the seed that not only can be sown in the earth and bear fruit, but also in a woman. How do you think you got an inner child on the inside? It says the seed is the word of Yahuwah. The ones along the path are those who have heard. Who have what? Who have heard. Then the devil, Satan, comes and takes away the word from their heart. What is he going to do? He's going to create doubt. We just read it. He's going to sow doubt. He's going to put error, and he's going to teach you sin. He's going to take it away from you, from your heart. So that they might not believe. And he said he's going to take you away from. He said he's going to take away from faith and amunah and belief and be saved. That's the whole point. That's the only reason he's coming in your mind and take the bar, so you can't be saved. Man, woman, child. That's the only reason. He's only doing that so you can't be saved. He only coming to take it. And the ones on the rock are those who, when they hear the debar, receive it with joy. But these have no root. Just like a child being born, a new child being born into the earth. You see the placenta, it looks just like roots. Not having no root, they believe for a while. In the time of testing, they follow it. They doubt. They got errors, and then what? They got sin. They fall away. And as for what fell among thorns, they are those who hear, but as they go on their way, so they keep going, they are choked. You ever choked somebody on the neck and you squeeze real tight? What happened? You start breathing. You remember our lungs? Our lungs are like trees. You start breathing improperly, and guess what happens? Choked by the cares and the riches and the pleasures of life. Why? Because that's their whole motivation. They're not, he say, a child is thinking about one thing and one thing only, pleasing his father. And by seeking firstly Malkuth and his righteousness, guess what? All these other things will be added. So in order for it to be choked, one has to put these things above it. It says, and their fruit does not mature. Why? Because one's only thinking about the cares of his life. And their fruit can't mature. You ever seen a tree that's getting ready to bear fruit, but then you can't keep watering it, but for some reason the tree won't actually, the fruit won't mature? No, it won't mature. He's saying, you know why? Because there's a break. Something's choking one of the roots. He says, as for that, in the good soil, they are those who hear the debar, hold it fast with an honest and good heart, and bear fruit with patience. They bear fruit. They bear parah with patience. Because you got to wait. It says, Shaly'shy, Proverbs 23, 3 through 5. By wisdom is a house built. Why? Because wisdom going to drop down like water. And by understanding is established. By knowledge, the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches. A wise man is full of strength. Wise man or woman. And a man or woman of knowledge enhances their mind. It enhances their koach. The word for mind is koach, their strength. You have to be, receive the knowledge of the truth. You have to hear it, believe it, and not let Satan take it from you with sin, doubt, and errors. Because these are all the artifacts of iniquity. Who can fight against an invisible ruach, visible spirit? In order to fight against an invisible spirit, you got to understand earthly things. It says strength, power, might, human strength. Yeah, your strength, your inward man, your koach, your inward force, right? Right? Strength, human strength, right? It also means what? It'll enhance your produce, your wealth. He said if you increase in knowledge, it will enhance your strength, your human strength, your power, your strength, your wealth, your produce, your force, your ability, right? It will make you bigger. Like how lizards, you see lizards that shapeshift? A chameleon, it'll allow you to shapeshift. your force, your fruit, your might, your power, just like any other lizard. When you see a lizard, it said be transformed. When the lizard transforms, it gets bigger. Snakes shed their skin. When they first come out, in the springtime come, they go out and start feeding on these animals, and they start eating. They get big and they start shedding skin. Why? Because they get going from one state to another state. Because when that wintertime comes, they ain't slitting on that cold ground. It's amazing it's amazing these animals know how to store up food and wait until the springtime. And some of them are not even eating until it's time appointed for them to come out. Right? So, yeah, it'll enhance your mind. So, this is Ezekiel 16, 1 through 5. Right? It says, again, the word of Yahuwah came to me, son of Adam. Make known to Jerusalem her abominations, and say, thus says Yahuwah, Elohim of Jerusalem, your origin and your birth are the land of the Canaanites, and your father was an Amorite, and your mother was a Hittite. So he's talking about your birth. He's telling you were a Canaanite, an Amorite, and a Hittite. He says, and as for your birth, on the day you were born, your cord or your shore, we just went over the word shore, was not cut. Right? When you start looking at Yahuwah, he's saying, what? It'll be healing. Lean not to your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him. It'll be healing to your shore. Your umbilical will be refreshment to your bones. Why? Because you're still connected to him. But he said the day you were born, your mother was a Hittite, Amorite, and a Canaanite, which means you haven't been cut from your Canaanite and your father and mother, Amorite, Hittite connection. Because when we were born into this world, we didn't have the knowledge of the truth. We were born a bunch of Hittites, Amorites, and Canaanites. Most people don't want to be truthful about it. You were born in a Indo-European, Germanic, barbarian, Viking type society. You were born into a Gentile, Goyim type society where they sacrifice the demons. Right? You were born into like all types of other things. You were born into it. You were doing all types of things that other cultures and other things of demons, of spirits. He said you weren't even doing it. He said you're still attached. He said when you were born, he said your mother, you was a Canaanite. You was an Amorite and a Hittite. And that's where we were born. We didn't know anything about it. We were indoctrinated into this world. And he says, as for your birth, on the day you were born, your shore was not cut. You weren't even cut. You still connected. And you were washed. You were not, nor were you washed with water. Because, he said his wisdom going to drop down like water. To cleanse you, nor rubbed with Malach or salt. You won't even rub with salt. You ever scrub your body with salt? It's the ultimate purification type wash. Washing yourself with water and salt. It's the ultimate purification of your body, your skin. It says, nor wrapped in swaddling clothes. No eye pitied you to do any of these things to you out of compassion for you. But you were cast out in the open field, and you were abhorred on the day that you were born. And when I passed by you, I saw you wallowing in your blood. I saw you all dirty and you still attached to your umbilical cord. Think about that. A child being born all bloody and stuff and nobody even washing it off. Think about that. Still attached to the woman's umbilical cord, still hanging off. Think about that. And I said to you, in your blood, live. 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 I made you flourish like a plant of the field. Huh? Just like a plant. And you grew up and became tall and arrived at full adornment. Your breasts were formed and your hair had grown and you were naked and bare. You see how you know how children being born? When you come into the world, parents nurture you, care for you. And guess what? You naked and bare. You running around. And you got a care in the world. When I passed by you again, I saw you, and behold, you were the age of love. And I spread a spread a corner of my garment over you and covered your nakedness, or your arum. I covered your nakedness. I made my vow to you and entered into a covenant with you, declares Yahuwah Elohim, and you became mine. And I bathed you with water and washed off your blood from you and anointed you with oil. I clothed you with embroidered cloth and shod you with fine leather. I wrapped you in fine linen and covered you in silk. I adorned you with ornaments and put bracelets on your wrists and chains on your neck, and put a ring on your nose and earrings in your ears and a beautiful crown on your head. I made you royalty. You know, people say, man, you shouldn't have those things. He said, I did all these things for you. He said, thus you were adorned with gold and silver, and your clothing was fine linen and silk and embroidered cloth. You ate fine flour and honey and oil. You grew exceedingly beautiful and advanced to royalty. And you were renowned, it says, and went forth among the Goyim because of your beauty. For it was perfect through splendor that I have bestowed on you, declares Yahuwah Elohim. So you think about that. I watched you grow up. I watched you go from a little tiny yay person that wasn't even cut from the umbilical cord. It's like a child being neglected by their parents. And I brought you in. And I washed you. I cleansed you up. I cut you from your umbilical cord. I washed you and cleansed you. I scrubbed you with salt, with Malach. I had compassion on you. I covered your nakedness with a garment. I did all these things. I showed kindness to you. I made you royalty. I made you in fine leather. I gave you the best food. I put a ring nose on your face. I put earrings in your ear. I put a crown on your head. But you were born a Hittite, an Amorite, in the land of Canaan. And you were an abomination, right? So the word for salted is Malach. Malach. It means what? To tear away, to dissipate, to salt, to season. He said, I rubbed you with salt. He said, nobody did that. Nobody even rubbed you. Nobody even spread no salt on you. He said, nobody did it. He said, properly to rub, to pieces, to pulverize, to disappear as dust. He said, nobody even rubbed no salt on you to clean you off. They ain't even put no salt on you. They ain't even touch you in your umbilical cord. You were wallowing in your blood. When you were wallowing, he said, when you were in your blood, he said, I live. He said, I said live. When you say you were wallowing in your blood, I said live. And guess what he said? So Malach is Meme, Lamed, and Koth. Meme is 40, Lamed is 30, and Koth is 8, which equals to 78, which 1 plus 78 1 equals to 15, 7 plus 8. Right? And then when you get to 1 plus 5, and then you get to 6. 630 Elizabeth is woo. It means nail, tent, secured. He said, nobody even rubbed you in it. They ain't rub you with no salt. While you were in your blood, they ain't had no compassion on you. They ain't even rub you with no salt. They just left. They had no compassion. They ain't had no pity. They didn't even care. He said, but I took you, and I washed you off. And I watched you grow up. He said, your breasts were grew, you were running around naked. And he said, I put my garment out and I covered your nakedness. He said, I did that. Right? The word for nakedness is arum. It means naked and bare, nude. He said, you were running around naked. You were running around naked. And then I put my garment out and I covered your nakedness. He said, I did all these things for you. He said, you were naked and bare. Right? So continue on. Yakaziel, Ezekiel 16, 15 through 30. After he did all that, he said, but you trusted in your beauty. Oh, you mean my son or daughter? He said, do not forget, my son, trust in Yahuwah with all your heart. Don't lean with your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge me, and he will make straight your path. It'll be healing to your shore, your umbilical cord, and refreshment to your bones. CQE a step, right? A step, right? You start looking at this. But what happened? He said, you was a Canaanite, Amorite, and Hittite, your mother and your father. But guess what happened? I washed you off, I cleaned you, I cut your umbilical cord, and I made you with me. But then you trusted in your beauty. You forgot about me. Like you talked about, my son, do not forget the commandment of your father, the teaching of your father, and the commandment of your mother. Don't be wise in your own eyes. He said, but you trusted in your beauty and played the whore because of your renown and lavished your whorings on any passerby. Your beauty became his. You took some of your garments and made for yourself colorful shrines, and on them played the whore. You did that. He said you were wise in your own eyes. That's what it takes, wisdom to make those things. The like has never been, nor ever shall be. You also took your beautiful jewels of my gold and my silver, which I have given you, and made for yourself images of men. Huh? He said, what? He says the like was never been. Guess what he said? You took also the beautiful jewels, the gold, the silver, and all that I had given you. So you took all Yahuwah stuff and made for yourself images of men. So you took the good things I gave you, and you used it to commit sin. You using the things that I gave you to commit sin. And with them played the whore. You took the embroidered garments to cover them, and set my oil and my incense before them. So you took all that, all the things I gave you, and then you used it very wealth, the koach, the force, the wealth, and all the things I gave you, because you enhanced your might by my wisdom and knowledge, and I clothed you, and I did all these things. Now you take all of that and you start making gods with it. You start worshiping other beings. Also, my bread I gave you, even gave you lakam. And I fed you with fine flour and oil and honey, and you set before them a pleasing aroma. So it was, declares Yahuwah Elohim, and you took your sons and your daughters, whom you had born to me, and these you sacrificed to them to be devoured. Were your whorings so small, a matter that you slaughtered my children and delivered them up as an offering of fire to them? You delivered them up for an offering as fire to them. And if all your abominations and your whorings you did not remember the day of your youth. What are you talking about? I remember when you were Yehai. I remember when you were young, and you was a Hittite, your mother was a Hittite, a Canaanite, and I took you and I clothed you, I washed you out. They didn't rub you with no salt. They didn't put no Malach on you. They didn't even wash you and have no compassion on you. And I took you and I raised you up, and you were beautiful and you were naked. I put a garment and clothed you. I gave you the crown, the earrings, nose jewels. I gave you everything you needed. I gave you bread and fine flour. I gave you all the things you needed. He like, man, you don't forgot about where you came from. Man, I remember when you weren't doing none of this. Guess what he says? He said, you don't remember the day of your youth when you were naked and bare, wallowing in your blood. You don't even remember when you were wallowing in your blood. You don't even remember when you were naked and bare. Arum. You don't remember, huh? Then after all your wickedness, woe to you, declares Yahuwah Elohim. You build yourself a vaulted chamber and made yourself a lofty place in every square. At the heads of every street, you built your lofty place and made your beauty an abomination, offering yourself to any passerby and multiplying your whoring. You know, he told Adam and Cool to do? Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth, right? Then he told him to be robust, great, but look how she being great. She being great in whoring. You also played the whore with the Egyptians, your lustful neighbors, multiplying your whoring to provoke me to anger. Behold, therefore I stretch out my hand against you and diminished your allotted portion and delivered you into the greed of your enemies. The daughters of the Philistines who were ashamed of your lewd behavior. You played the whore also with the Assyrians because you were not satisfied. Yes, you played the whore with them, and still you were not satisfied. You multiplied your whoring also with the trading of the land of Chaldee, and even with this you were not satisfied. That's what happens. When you get into a motion of doing wrong in Ra, you'll never be satisfied. Nothing will satisfy you. You just continue to do it, but it will never satisfy you. He said, man, you remember when the days of your youth when you were naked and wallowing in your blood? Says, guess what he says? How sick or amal is your heart, or liba? How sick, amal liba, is your heart, declares Yahuwah Elohim, because you did all these things, the deeds of a brazen prostitute, building your vaulted chamber at the head of every street, and making your lofty place in every single square. You know how people, how you say, in every square. You know, there's only one Elohim, right? But you know, Satan, what did he do? He teach sin, he teach error, he teach doubt, try to turn you away from Amunah, and turn away from you to think there's only one Elohim. The Elohim of Elohims, right? So he makes you go after other ones. That's why she lay with so many. Because Satan was teaching her. Satan was teaching her. Guess what he says? And making a lofty place in every square. You were naked. You were not like a prostitute because you scorned payment. Adulterous wife who received strangers instead of her husband. Right? You look at all these things. Right? The word for sick is amal. He says, how weak is your heart? How weak are you? To droop, to languish, to be exhausted. How exhausted is your heart? How sick is your heart? How weak is your heart? Right? The word for heart is liba. How weak is your liba? Your liba, your heart. Your heart, right? It's precise. How weak is your liba? Your heart. What was Satan's job? You look at liba, it's spelled with a ha. That's feminine form. Not lab, with lamed and bith, it's spelled with a feminine form. Why? Because the ha is in the final form is the what? The is the feminine. He's talking to a female. He says heart. Liba, lamed, bith, ha. Lamed is 30, bith is 2, ha is 5, which equals to 37, which equals to 10. You look at your 10 fingers on your hand. He said, what did you do? You took the things that I gave you, and you made yourself other Elohims, other gods. You start serving idols, offering your children to idols, even going after these other beings. But you look at 1 plus 0 is 1. You forgot there's one Elohim. That's why you're going after all the other Elohims. Remember, what did Satan do? He said he teaches what? Sin, doubt, and error. And what else he teach? Teach you to get away from Amunah, faith. And also, he tells you, try to convince you that there's only one, there's not, to get you away from one Elohim. That's the only thing he does. Liba. How liba is your heart? Jerusalem and Yehuda. How sick is your heart, people? How sick is your heart, man? How sick is your heart, woman? How sick is your heart, child? How sick are you? There's only one creator. Why would you go after these behaviors? And people wonder why all these people get sacrificed in the world. People are like, why would somebody sacrifice their family or their children or their mother and their father and all these things? Because they worship other Elohim. They worship these beings. They serve these beings. Yahuwah calls them what? He's saying you're like a prostitute. He said, I would never, like all these are all aspects, right? But these are all things that one has done, right? This is Yirmiyahu 17:5. Thus says Yahuwah, cursed is the man or Gabar who trusts in Adam. Cursed. You trust in your flesh. When he told the woman, he said, you, in the day of your blood, when you were a Hittite, your mother was a Hittite, your father was an Amorite, and you were born in the land of Canaan. He said, you were wallowing your blood. When you were wallowing your blood, I said, live. When you were wallowing your blood, I said, live. And they didn't even have no compassion. They didn't even spare Malach on you. But he said, but then you started to trust in your beauty. Or he say, curse is you started trusting your flesh. You started trusting who you are, what you look like. And you started to go after other things. He said, thus says Yahuwah, cursed is the man, Gabar, who trusts in Adam and makes flesh his strength. People make flesh their strength. They make their natural human body, how they look, their strength. That's their koach, how we say? Their koach, their force, their strength. That's their strength. It says, whose heart turned away from Yahuwah. That's what she did. Her heart turned away from him. It says, he is like a shrub in the desert, in a dry ground, and shall not see any good come. It ain't gonna come. He shall dwell in a parched places in the wilderness, in an uninhabited salt land. That's where you're gonna be. In an uninhabited salt land, a dry ground, a dry place, uninhabited salt land. Nothing grows. It's death. Why? Because you just turn away your heart, your mind from your liba. How you say? How sick is your heart? Amal liba. You don't turn away from your heart from the one who made all things. But it says right here, verse 7 says, Barak is the man who trusts in Yahuwah. That's why when Yahusha said he grabbed the children, he said, humble yourself like a child. He grabbed the child and he baraked them. He touched them and baraked them. Why? He said, Barak is the man who trusts in Yahuwah. Trust in Yahuwah with all your heart. Because Satan going to teach you. It says, he is like a tree planted by water, and he sends out its roots by the stream. Huh? Because, he talked about those who receive the word on stony ground. He said they don't have root. They by the stream, but they don't have roots. You got to do that. You have to put the roots down. It says, and does not fear when heat comes, for its leaves remain green. Why? Because they got water stored up. Like a baobab tree. Baobab trees store water inside. Certain other trees, I think it's a Jackson tree in Mashika, right? They store water inside. What do? They absorb water and they stay inside the tree. Like they say, cenote, right? They put a lot of roots to take the water, right? When they store it in the tree, right? It says, for its leaves remain green, and it is not anxious in the year of drought, for it does not cease to bear fruit. It don't stop. It don't stop bearing fruit. Even in drought. Just like you see in the world today, all the water poison. How you say? Wormwood. It says, the heart, guess what it says? The heart, or the lave, is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it? How sick is your heart? How amal liba. How sick is your heart? Curse is the man. Curse is the warrior who trusted in Adam, his flesh. Your flesh? She trusted in her beauty. But it says right here, who can't understand it? And Yahuwah searched the heart and the test the mind, to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his deeds. He's gonna, how you say, repay you back. That's why he told the woman, I'm gonna get you back. I'm gonna repay you. He said, how sick are you? You take a stranger instead of your husband. If you can't understand earthly things, ain't no way you can understand spiritual things, unseen things. He said, ain't no way. So the word for curse is the man is gabar. Curse is the warrior, strong man, woman, warrior, kayil, valiant man, warrior. He says the curse is the man, the ability to fight, a person. He says warrior. Curse is the warrior who makes the flesh his strength. Cursed. You cursed. Who told you about that? Who told you about this? Who told you about this? He said a woman would run around, she was naked and bare. He's like, man, you a Hittite and Amorite. He's like, you a naked and bare. He said, I watched you grow up and I saw you run around there. I put a garment and clothed you. That's the type of person you would. I put a garment and I clothed you. He said, but when you were born, them Hittites, them Hittites and the Amorites, your mother and your father, in the land of Canaan, they ain't cover you. They ain't do nothing for you. But I did everything for you. So the word for salt in that verse is Malach, right? Malach, right? It says what? He said you're going to be like a saltless land, a uninhabited salt land. Saltness, barrenness, saltiness, a desert, a barren land. You're going to bear no fruit. You're going to have no fruit. You're going to be afraid when it's drought. You're going to be afraid when there's no water. You're going to be afraid, and you ain't going to bear no fruit. Why? Because you know if that water starts flowing, I ain't going to bear no more fruit. My leaves will not be green. I'm gonna be discovered. He said, how you gonna know people gonna be discovered? When that water start flowing around here and no more water, and people, you gonna start seeing people fruit with it. You be like, man, where your fruit at? You must ain't have no water stored up. And that's how you gonna know. That's how you gonna know people ain't got no water on the inside. Cause they ain't gonna have it. The living water, they ain't gonna have no salt in it. That's how you gonna know. When the water start flowing, he sent a famine in the land. Not of bread and all the things, natural food, but of hearing the debar. The water not gonna flow. And then those who ain't got it, guess what? It's gonna happen. They leaves gonna wither and they gonna wither and ain't gonna bear no more fruit. Because they ain't gonna have the word no more. That's how you gonna know in the last days. So it says saltness, barrenness, right? So the word for trust is batak. It means to trust. Cursed is the man who trusts in Adam and make the flesh his strength. You secure yourself in your flesh. And you trust in your flesh, you confident. But it says Barak is the man who trusts in Yahuwah. You are very confident in Yahuwah. You are sure. You trust. You put confidence. Why? Because Satan ain't going to bring no error, no sin, and he going to teach you no doubt. You trust in Yahuwah. You confident. You secured. With nail and tent peg, you got Malach in your salt. You're secured in salt. You're secured. But he said, guess what? But if you start trusting in your flesh, you're going to be like that woman, trusting in her beauty. This Bereshit 19:15. It says, and the morning dawned, and the Malach urged, right, Lot, saying, take your wife and your two daughters who are here, lest you be swept away in the punishment of the city. But he lingered, so the men seized him and his wife and his two daughters by the hand, right, Yahuwah being merciful, and they brought him out and set him outside the city. And as they brought them out, one said, escape for your life. Do not look back. Do not look back. Or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the hills, lest you be swept away. And Luke said to them, oh no, my masters. Behold, your servant has found favor in your sight. Guess what he said? And you have shown me great kindness in saving my life. But I cannot escape to the hills, lest the disaster overtake me and I die. Behold, the city is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one. Let me escape there. Is it not a little one? And my life will be saved. And he said to him, behold, I grant you this favor also, that I will not overthrow the city of which you have spoken. Escape there quickly, for I can do nothing till you arrive there. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. And the sun had risen on the earth when Luke came to Zoar. Then Yahuwah rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire from Yahuwah out of Shamayim, and he overthrew those cities and all the valley and all the inhabitants of the cities and what grew on the ground. He made it like an uninhabited salt land. Because there ain't no trees, ain't gonna be no food. Everything that grew on the ground. So all of the soil, everything was destroyed. All of it. It's like a shrub in the desert. Why? Because they made their flesh, they trusted in their flesh. I mean, Adam, how you say their flesh, their strength. So I made it like a shrub in the desert and an uninhabited salt land. But Barak is the person who trusts in Yahuwah. He said he's going to be like a tree planted by water. He's going to shoot forth his roots, and his leaves ain't going to turn brown, and he's going to always yield fruit. But he said, but Lot's wife behind him looked back, because she was walking and following him at one point, because it's Barak is, how you say, great are the works of Yahuwah, studied by those who delight in them. It's practice, worship, and prayer followed. She was behind him, and then she looked back. She did not follow the instructions of the Malach. So therefore, she became a pillar of Malach salt. She became a pillar of Malach, of salt. She became a pillar of salt. So the word for district, or he say the word for valley, like he says, talked about neither look in the valley, or he said don't look back or go. He said look in the valley, right? But that word for valley is kakar. It means a round district, right? A round loaf of bread. Yeah. Gold, silver, bronze, iron. Gold, silver, bronze, and iron. A round district. What did the woman who trusted in her beauty do? She took the gold and the silver that Yahuwah gave her, and she made Allahins with it. But it also means a circle, a gore, a valley, right? A plain, right? You ever seen? You go in a town square, but they have but you ever go in a crown? They call it a town square, but it'll have a circle in the middle of the town. Amazing, they call it a town square, but it has a circle, right? In the middle of it, you can see that in Cairo too. They have in Cairo downtown. They have a circle, and yeah, all these places. Like you go to London, they have that little monument, and they have a circle that people go around it in a circle inside of their cars. Or in Paris, or in other places, right? They have these things. These are roundabouts. That's what they call them. Plain, right? It says round, a round district, right? You look at some of these highways that are around a city, right? You have a city, but then they have a circle highway around the city that interconnect through roadways. He says kakar, right? So the word for don't look, he said don't look back. But that word for look is nabat. He said Lot's wife behind him looked. And that word is nabat. It means to look, to regard, to pay attention. She paid attention to that, and not the teaching of the Malach that told her not to look back. She paid more attention to what was behind her than the word, the bar that was in front of her. To scan, right? To have respect. She didn't have respect for what was spoken, so therefore she looked back. Because great are the works of Yahuwah, followed, studied, right? Great are the works of Yahuwah, worship and prayer. But if you trust in your beauty, you be like Adam, and you make flesh your strength, you trust in your flesh, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to lean to your own understanding. And in all your ways, you're not going to acknowledge him, and you ain't going to be healed. You're not going to be healed. Bereshit 3:1. Now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field than Yahuwah had made. Why? Just like any other teacher, just like any other, Satan teaches what? Error, sin, and doubt. That's all he teaches. And he said to the woman, did Yahuwah actually say you shall not eat of the tree in the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden, but Yahuwah said, we shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden. Neither shall we touch it, lest you die. So that's like when Lot's wife was coming out of Zoar, or coming out of Sodom and Gomorrah, what did she do? She paid attention, did not pay attention to the word of Yahuwah, but she paid attention to what was behind her. Just like the woman who came from a Hittite and an Amorite, mother and father, and Canaan, just like the abominations of Jerusalem and Yehuda, then what happened? He clothed her nakedness, he washed her and did all these things, but then she forsook him. And he said, you will run around naked, and I clothed you. And it says what? It says, he said to the woman, did Yahuwah actually say, you shall not eat of the tree of the garden? That's doubt. And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit tree of the garden, but Yahuwah said, you shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden. Neither shall you touch it, lest you die. But the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die. For Elohim knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open, and you will be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. And it says, so when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired, to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate. And the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loincloths. And they heard, so it says they made themselves loincloths. That's the same thing what happened to the woman who he clothed and gave all these things to and made them royalty. And then she made for herself gods of the same thing that Yahuwah gave him. Of the same thing that Yahuwah gave him. That's the same thing. Everything that Yahuwah gave Adam to do, he took the same thing that Yahuwah gave him, and he made himself something. After they rebelled. Because he said, man, it was a time of love. He said, and they knew they were naked. He said, but when that woman was, fully grown and he clothed her and scrubbed, they didn't even scrub no salt on you. But then when she grew naked and her breast was fully formed, ran around naked, he put his garment, he walked by and he put his garments on her and he clothed her. It says, and guess what it says? And they heard the sound of Yahuwah Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah Elohim among the trees of the garden. But Yahuwah Elohim called to the man and said to him, where are you? And he said, I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid, behold, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, who told you that you were naked? Who told you that? Who told you all these things? When you were naked, he said, I just walked by and clothed you. He said, who told you were naked? Who told you about this? How you say, your flesh? Who told you about your flesh? Cursed is the man who trusts in Adam, who make flesh his strength. He said, who told you about this? Who told you about flesh? Who else going to teach you that? He created doubt, error, and what else? Sin. He said everything that was in your Adam's reach, it was in his reach. The word for naked is aron, same word that you see when he talked about a woman, he covered her nakedness. He said, when you were naked, I clothed you, I covered you, I aron. He said, when you were aron, I walked by and I put a garment and I clothed you. Yeah, nakedness, nudity, aron. Aron. They were naked. Same word. They were aron. Yeshayahu 20:1. And it says, in the year that the commander-in-chief who was sent by Sargon, the king of Assyria, came to Ashdod and fought against it and captured it at the time, Yahuwah spoke to Yeshayahu, the son of Amos, saying, go and loose the sackcloth from your waist and take your sandals from your feet. And he did so, walking naked, aron. That word for naked is aron, same word that you see in Bereshit 3:1, same word you see when it came to the woman in Ezekiel 16. When he said you were naked, it was a time of love, and I clothed you. He said, walking naked, aron, and barefoot. Then Yahuwah said, as my servant Yeshayahu has walked naked and barefoot for 3 years, as a sign and a portent against Mizraim and Cush, so shall the king of Assyria lead away the Egyptians captive and the Cushites in exile. But the young and the old, naked and barefoot, with buttocks uncovered, right? Both naked and old, with with the aron, are naked and barefoot and buttocks uncovered. So they're gonna lead away these people, right? And Yeshayahu was a sign to let them know that this is going to happen to them. Right? It said, he said, with their buttocks uncovered, it says, and the nakedness of Mizraim. Then they shall be dismayed and ashamed because of Cush, their hope, and of Mizraim, their boast. Isn't that what people do today? They make Cush their boast, and they make Cush their hope, and Mizraim their boast. Don't they forsake Yahuwah today? It's the same thing people do today. They make Mizraim their boast, and they make Cush their hope. People do the same thing today, Yehuda and Yerushalayim. And all the people. He said they forsook Yahuwah. Why would they do that? Why are they forsaking Yahuwah? You know why? Because they make flesh their trust. They trust in their flesh. They trust in their beauty. It's the same thing they do today. Behold, this is what was, and he said, behold, this is what has happened to those in whom we hoped, and to whom we fled for help, to be delivered from the king of Assyria. And we, he says, and how shall we escape? It's the same thing people do today. And that same word, Arun, is the same word that Adam, when he said, who told you were naked? It's the same word you see for the woman who trusted in her beauty and forsook Yahuwah when after he done washed and cleansed her and gave her nose rings, jewels, earrings, a crown, finest food, and all these things he did. Even washed her and clothed her and did all these things. But guess what? He said, man, then after that, you start trusting in your beauty. And you start trusting in Mizraim. You start trusting in Cush. You start doing all these things. You forsook Yahuwah, right? And you lean to your own understanding. And you were wise in your own eyes. And you forgot the commandments. And that's the same thing people do today. Yeshayahu 53:3. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. And as one from whom men hide their faces, he was despised and we esteemed him not. Surely he bore our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten up by Yahuwah, and afflicted. And he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. Or Aydah. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us shalom. And by his wounds we are healed. And we are like sheep gone astray. We forsook Yahuwah. We trusted in our beauty. We trusted in our flesh. We trusted in Cush. We trusted in Mizraim. We trusted in Egypt. We trusted in other gods. We trusted in Assyria. We trusted in governments and establishments. We trusted in islands and other cultures and tribes. We trusted in all these things. We trusted in Indo-Europeans. We trusted in Germanics. And we trusted in all types of other beings and sacrifices. Guess what he said? Yeah, we have turned every one to his own way, and Yahuwah has laid on him the iniquity of us all. Right? So, Yeshayahu 52:13. Behold, my servant shall act wisely. He will be high and lifted up, and he shall be exalted. Why? Yochanan 12:30. Yahushua answered, this voice came not for your sake, not mine. Now is the judgment of this world. Now will the ruler of this world be cast out, and if I am lifted up from the earth, I will draw all people to myself. Why is he doing this? Matthew 27:27. It says, into the governor's headquarters, and they gathered the whole battalion before him. And they stripped him and put on a robe on him. Why do you think he said, in the time of your nakedness, you were running around, but then I clothed you. To the woman. He said, when you were born, they ain't have no, how you say, no pity on you. They didn't rub you with Malach. They didn't rub you with salt. While you were wallowing in your blood, I said, live. While you were wallowing in your blood, I said, live. But he said, they stripped you naked. They stripped him. Like Yeshayahu, when his buttocks was uncovered. He said, you're going to walk barefoot, and I want you to walk naked. I want you to walk naked. Why? For Adam and Qahalath. for Yehuda and Jerusalem. Because they're putting their trust in Cush and Mizraim, and they're trusting in their beauty and their flesh. So I'm going to do it for them. And guess what he said? And he put on a scarlet robe on him, and twisting a crown of thorns on him, they put it on his head. They put a crown and said, then he told the woman, I put you a crown on your head. I put earrings and I put a crown on your head. I did all these things. And then they put it on his head and put a reed in his hand. And kneeling before him, they mocked him. He said, I made you into royalty. I made you into royalty. Saying, Hail, Malach of the Yahudim. And they spit on him and took a reed and struck him on the head. You mean pulverized. They struck him. How you think salt going to be made? How you going to season the salt? How you going to season it right? Guess what it said? And when they had mocked him, they stripped him of his robe and put his own clothes on him and led him away to crucify him. They stripped him again. They stripped him one time and they stripped him again. Mark 15:16. And the soldiers led him away inside the palace. That is the governor's headquarters. And they called together the whole battalion. So when you saw Yeshayahu, he said he's going to walk around naked and barefoot. And he said he's going to do it twice. In Yeshayahu chapter 53. Actually, Yeshayahu chapter 20. He said he's going to walk around naked and barefoot. Then he said the old and the young people are going to walk around naked and barefoot. Because they made Cush their trust and Mizraim their boast. Why do you think they stripped him twice? And they clothed him in purple. Guess what it said? And they called together the whole battalion, and they clothed him in a purple cloak, and twisting a crown of thorns, they put it on him, and they began to salute him. Hail, Malach of the Yahudim. And they were striking his head, because he said, declare to Yehuda and Jerusalem their abominations. He said, your mother was a Hittite, and your father was an Amorite, and y'all were like the land of Canaan. He said, when you were born, nobody even want to cut your umbilical cord. They didn't even wash you with water, neither rub you with malach or salt. And guess what happened you see here? That's what happened to him. They didn't even, how you say? They ain't even pitying him right now. They ain't even pitying him. And they were striking his head in a reed and spitting on him and kneeling down in homage to him. And when they had mocked him, they stripped him of the purple cloth and put his own clothes on him, and they led him away to be crucified. He walked around butt naked. Who told you were naked? He said, I put loincloths on you. He said, because I was naked. I hid myself. Who told you that? Who told you were naked? Who told you that? He laid on him the iniquity of us all. Cursed is the man who trusted in Adam and his flesh. It makes flesh his strength. So this Luke 22:63. Now the men who were holding Yahusha in custody were mocking him, and they beat him, and they blindfolded him, and they kept asking him, but who struck you? And they said many other things against him, blaspheming him. Why do you think they hit him? Because that's how you're gonna pulverize and make salt. How you gonna season with salt? They ain't had no pity on him. They striking him and beating him. How you say? When you were born, they had no pity on you. On the day you were born. This is the day Yahushua was born. People don't even know that. This is his birthday. This is the day he was born. And guess what? He wallowed in blood. You think about somebody hit you over the head and strike you on your head and beat you. You're going to be bleeding. You're going to be bleeding. You're going to be bleeding. Yeshayahu 19:1. Then Pilate took Yahusha and beat him And the soldiers twisted a crown of thorns and put it on his head and arrayed him in a purple robe. They came up to him, saying, Hail, Malach the Yahudim, and they struck him with the head. They didn't have no pity on him. That's the same thing you see with the woman who had all the whoredom and lay with the Assyrians, the Egyptians. She was like a brazen prostitute who's strangers instead of her husband. Yahushua died for you. He laid on his life for you. He said you get your children, you sacrifice them. You sacrifice your family. You sacrifice all these things. He said Yahushua died for you. Yahushua he put on him the iniquity of all that. He didn't have no compassion, no pity him. He said it was a time of love. I saw you naked running around. Your breast was fully formed. He said, I put my garment around you and clothed you. Isn't that what they just did? They stripped him and then they clothed him. But they struck him. They didn't have no pity on him either. They didn't even wrap him in swaddling clothes. This is the day he was born. They were beating his behind up. They were punching him and beating him. Yeshayahu 69, or how you say, or Psalms, Tehillim 69 and 19. You know my reproach, and my shame and my dishonor. My foes are all known to you. Reproaches have broken my heart, so that I am in despair. I looked for pity, but found none. Why do you think they had no pity on him? They had no pity on him. The same way they had no compassion on the woman, on the child that was born that was of a Hittite. He said your mother was a Hittite, Amorite, and a land of Canaan. They had no compassion on you when you were born. They didn't even clean you off. They didn't cut your umbilical cord, and they didn't even rub you with salt. Malach. They had no pity, no compassion. And for comforters, but I found none. He said they didn't even do nothing for you. They did nothing for you. He died for you. People say, what do you mean he died for you? Why Satan going to try to get you to doubt this? Satan going to try to put error in your head. Satan going to try to teach you all types of sin. Why? Because he don't want you to believe this. So that you can be saved. Why? Because he knows if you believe this, you're saved. You can be saved. See, they gave me poison for my food. And for my thirst, they gave me sour wine to drink. They had no compassion whatsoever. People say, why was he naked? For Adam and cool. Why was he naked? For those who trust in Cush and Mizraim and make them boast. Why he was naked? For that woman he brought out, he decked her and did all these things, but then she came an adulterer and a sinner, just like Adam did. He said, it was all in her reach. I pay you royalty. He made her royalty, and guess what she did? She would run around naked just like the garden. But then she tried trusting in her beauty. He said, who told you about that? Instead of trusting Yahuwah, the woman started trusting in her beauty, and then she went whoring after all the other mighty ones, and she started walking around like a prostitute and a whore. And then guess what happened? Yahuwah said, you know what? I'll be the whore for you. I'll be that child for you that had no compassion. They had no compassion on him. I'll be that. I'll be naked and bare for you. Who can do something like that? They gave me poison for my food, and for my thirst, they gave me sour wine to drink. Matthew 27:45-50. And it says, then they sat down and kept watch over him there. And over his head, they put the charge against him, which read, this is Yahushua, the Malach of the Yahudim. Then two robbers were crucified with him, one on the right and one on the left. One on the right and one on the left. And those who passed by derided him, wagging their heads, saying, you who would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the son of Yahuwah, come down from the cross. And all the chief priests and the scribes and the elders mocked him. They had no compassion whatsoever on the day he was born. But guess what he said? And he said, saying, he saved others, he cannot save himself. He is a Malach Yasharal, because he put a crown on their head. He put a crown on their head. He said, it's a time of royalty. You are royalty. He said, saying, he saved others, he cannot save himself. If he the Malach Yasharal, let him come down from the totality, and we will believe him. He trusts in Elohim Yahuwah. Let Elohim Yahuwah deliver him now, if he desires him. For he said, I am the son of Yahuwah. And the robbers who were crucified with him also reviled him in the same way. Nobody had any compassion on a whore, on a prostitute, on a woman who took strangers instead of her husband. On this person. Nobody. And he says, and the robbers who were crucified with him also reviled him the same way. Now from the 6th hour, there was darkness over the land unto the 9th hour. And it says, and about the 9th hour, Yahushua cried out with a loud voice, saying, Aliyah, Aliyah, lama sabachthani. That is, my Elohim, why hast thou forsaken me? And some of the bystanders hearing it said, this man is calling for Eliyahu. And one of them, the bystanders ran and took a sponge and filled it with sour wine and put it on a reed and gave him to drink. But others said, wait, let's see whether Eliyahu will come and save him. And Yahushua cried out again with a loud voice, while you were in your blood, wallowing in your blood, I said, live. He said it twice in Ezekiel 16. What did he say? While you were wallowing in your blood, I said, live. While you were wallowing in your blood, I said, live. And he said, he cried out again with a loud voice and gave up the Ruach. That's what he did. He said, while you were in your blood, I said, live. Why? So I can give you my Kadosh milk. And as you, how you say, grow up until salvation again. And you, how you say, her breast was fully developed and she would walk around naked. He put his garment and clothed her and decked her, gave her nose jewels and earrings and the finest wheat and the finest food, gave her a palace, gave her a crown on her head and made her royalty. How he gonna do that? One's going to have to be born again. Do belief in Yahushua Mashiach. That's the only way that a state can be given back to one. But just like he said, but in the time she trusted in her beauty, she went astray. He went astray. And guess what he did? He became that woman for her. Just like he was naked for Adam and Kur. Just like he was naked for those who trusted in Mizraim and Cush, even today. And Yuchanan 19:38. And after this, Yahushua, knowing all that was now finished, said, to fulfill the scripture, I thirst. A jar of sour wine stood there. Reproaches that broke in my heart. He laid on him the iniquity of us all. You think all the sin one has committed in their life? All the things taught to them by Satan and teaching you all type of sin in your mind came in your mind like a smoke. All the things he taught it to you. All the things he instructed you to do, and you fulfilled it with no hesitation. Yahushua, he laid on him the iniquity of all of that. And he gave you life. So they put a sponge full of sour wine and hyssop and branch and held it to his mouth. Then Yahushua had received the sour wine, reproaches that broke in my heart. He said, it is finished. It is finished. And he bowed his head and gave up the Ruach. It'll be better for you to crush me and to cut me off from the earth, because these people are cursed and they made flesh their strength. That's their strength. And they gave me poison for my food. And guess what? I was like a dry ground, a shrub in the desert. I was like a shrub in the desert. I was right in the middle of Sodom and Gomorrah. I was a pillar of salt. You know what he said? And he gave it the Ruach. That's what he did. He fulfilled it. He's like, I'm like a pillar of salt. They said, where you got these wounds in your back? I got these in the house of my friend. That's where I got them at. I got all these wounds in the house of my friend. So this is Tahalim, Psalms 103:1. Blessed, Barak is Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah, O my soul, and all that is within me, Barak his Chdash name. Barak Yahuwah, O my soul, and forget not. Don't forget. But the teaching, or the commandment of your father and the teaching of your mother, don't forget it. Forget not all his benefits, who forgives all your iniquity, who heals all your diseases. All of them. Exodus Shemuth 15:25. Then Yahuwah made for them a statute and a rule, and there he tested them, saying, if you will diligently listen to my voice of Yahuwah your Elohim, and do that which is right in his eyes, and give ear to his commandments. What's today? Is Shabat, rest day, and keep all his statutes, all the things he command, things to do. That's what statute is, something to do. Because children need something to do. I will put none of the diseases on you that I put on Mizraim. Why? Because you no longer boasting about no Mizraim, and you not trusting in no Cush, or in no other Elohim, or the Assyrians, or the Grecians, or the Romans, or the barbarians, or the Minoans and the Etruscans, or the Bantu, the Mox, all the tribes of the earth. You're not trusting in Goddess Diana and Goddess, all the goddesses that people worship today. You're not trusting in these things. You're trusting in the one who made every single Elohim, who formed every Elohim, who rules over. He the Elohim of Elohims, the creator of all things. You understand these things. He said, I will put none of the diseases on you that I put on the Egyptians, Mizraim, for I am Yahuwah, your healer. By his wounds we are healed. The chastisement that brought us shalom was put on him. All of it was on him. He healed you. He said, you know what Yahuwah is saying now? It's a time of love. Let love and faithfulness not depart from you. It's the time of love. When you were naked, man, I saw you naked in your breast and you were walking around naked. I put my garment in clothes and I covered you. I covered you. This is Yeshayahu 20:25. So the disciple, this is Yuchanan 20:25. So the other disciples told him, we have seen the Adon. But he said to them, unless I see in his hands the marks of nails, and to place my finger in the marks of his nails, and place my hand in his side, I will not believe. They ain't gonna believe this salt. They ain't gonna believe this thing will see. Man, this thing, you gonna believe Malach, this salt? Because that's what it is. He said, that's what salt means. Malach is what it meant. 6-letter alphabet, nailed, tent peg, secured. He said, I ain't gonna believe this. This thing was seasoned that way, seasoned with salt like this. And he said, I will never believe. I ain't gonna believe this. He said 8 days later, because remember what the bar is? What is the bar? 8. Yahuwah is 8. It's his circumcision. 8 days later, his disciples were inside again, and Thomas was with them. Although the doors were locked, Yahusha came and stood among them and said, he morphed into the room, Shalom be to you. But what Thomas got to see? He got to see the nail prints in his hand. He got to put his fingers in it. He got to see it, so he can understand something. Then he said to Thomas, put your finger here and see my hands, and put out your hand and place it in my side. So Yahusha listening the whole time. He was listening the whole time. You think Yahuwah don't hear you when you doubt? You think your son don't hear you when you doubt? You think he don't read your thoughts? He said, surely I search out all your works and your thoughts. Surely he know your thoughts and your ways. And you will hide your sin. He said, I know you. And guess what he said? Do not disbelieve, but believe. So who caused him to disbelieve? Who tried to drive him away from Amunah, faith? Satan. But he said, don't disbelieve it, but believe it. Thomas answered him, my Adon, my Elohim. Yahusha said to him, have you believed because you have seen me? Barak are those who have not seen and yet have believed. Why? Because now he can understand by putting his hands in his side where the nail prints are. He can understand this thing was seasoned with salt. He can understand this Malach. This is seasoned with salt. This sacrifice that he did for us, the chastisement, these nails in his hands and his side and piercing his side, he said it brought us shalom. My Adon, my master, and my Elohim. His chastisement brought us shalom. This is 2 Kings or Malachim 2:15. Now the sons of the Nabi'im who were in Jericho saw opposite them, and they said, the Ruach of Yahoo rests on Elisha. And they came to meet him, and he bowed to the ground before him. And they said to him, behold, now there are with your servants 50 strong men. Please let them go and seek your master. It may be that the Ruach of Yahuwah has caught him up and cast him upon some mountain or in some valley. And he said, you shall not send. But when they urged him till they were ashamed, he said, send. And they sent, therefore, 15 men. And for 3 days they sought him, but did not find him. Right, when they came to Yahushua's grave, 3 days and 3 nights, he said, why you seek the living among the dead? He's not here, but he arisen. What you out here doing? And they came back to him while he was staying at Jericho, and they said to them, do I not say to you, did I not say to you, go, do not go? That's like he told, did I not say to you, don't look back? Isn't that the same thing I said? Didn't I say to you, don't look back? Now the men of the city said to Elisha, behold, the situation of this city is pleasant. As my Adon sees, it's beautiful, but the water is bad. People look beautiful on the outside. Your flesh and your garments ain't gonna understand this. You look beautiful on the outside, but your water bad. What you saying? And the land is unfruitful. And he said, bring me a new bowl. Bring me a new bowl and put salt in it. So they brought it to him, and then he went to the spring of water and threw salt in it. And said, thus says Yahuwah, I have healed Rapha, this water. From now on, neither death nor miscarriage shall come from it. It ain't going to come from that woman. Remember what the woman do? She said he trusted in her beauty, and she offered her children up to their other Elohims. It was bringing forth death. He says, ain't gonna be no more death or miscarriage coming from it. So the water has been healed to this day, according to the word that Elisha spoke. It's healed to this day. Because the chastisement of his, he laid on him and he gave us all. It brought us shalom. It's healed to this day, the water, if one believes. Right, the word for unfruitful or barren and miscarriage is shakol. It means to be bereaved, to make childless, to miscarry, to be bereaved. Suffer abortion. How do you think these people are aborting babies today? It's because the water is bad. The water is wormwood. Why do you think people are miscarrying? Because the water is bad. He says, Satan, what does Satan do? What does he do? He teaches doubt, he teaches error, and he teaches sin. And guess what Yahuwah says when a woman was doing all those things? He said, you don't remember the time of your youth. Remember the time of youth when you were wallowing in your blood. And I said to you, live. But look what you're doing now. So guess what? I got to send my son Yahushua to be all the things that you are. He said miscarriage, self-abortion, lose children. lose children. This is Chdash. So the word for new thing or new bowl is Chdash, a new thing, fresh, new. So the word for healed is Rapha. I have healed this world, and it's healed to this very day. To be healed, to make healthful, to heal a physician, to hurts of nations, involving restored favor, to cure. By his wounds we are healed. He has cured one, to heal. If one believes it in their thoughts. I believe it. Right? He says, Colossians 4:5, walk in wisdom toward outsiders, making best use of time. Let your speech be gracious, seasoned with salt. Malach. My Adon, my Elohim. Salt. So that you may know that how you ought to answer every person. The word for gracious is what? Divine influence upon the heart. Reflection of life. Joy, liberality, pleasure. Spiritual. It got to be seasoned with salt. Right? It says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. Right? He says what? Stay awake, lest you fall into temptation. Right? That's Satan, and pray that you enter not. For the flesh is weak. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Cursed is the man who trusts, or woman trusts in their flesh. Why? Because he said, stay awake. He said the spirit of the Ruach is willing, but the flesh is weak. He said, how weak is your heart? Didn't he what he told that woman? How amal is your heart? How weak are you? How weak is your heart? Or Layla. So Dead Sea Scrolls, column 7 or 6, 4Q 257. These are the paths of the world to enlighten the heart of man and woman. Straighten out in front of him all the paths of true justice, establish in his heart respect for the precepts of Elohim. Respect. She didn't respect what Yahuwah said. When she said she looked back, she didn't respect. She didn't pay attention to what he said. And his wife looked back. In the ruach of meekness and patience and generous compassion, eternal goodness, intelligence, understanding, potent wisdom, there's trust in all the deeds of Elohim. Great are the works of Yahuwah. Depends on his abundant mercy. It's a ruach of knowledge in all plans of action, of enthusiasm for the decrees of justice, of set apart plans, with firm purpose and generous compassion. With all the sons of truth. Did they have compassion with Yahushua Mashiach? He said, when the day you were born, they had no compassion on you. They didn't even wash you. They didn't even cut your umbilical cord. Matter of fact, they didn't even rub you with no malach, no salt. And Yahushua was the son of truth, right? Of magnificent purity, which detests all unclean idols. All of them. Or you're going to trust in your beauty. Of careful behavior and wisdom concerning everything. If you were wise, you'll listen to me. Of concealment concerning the truth of the mysteries of knowledge. These are the foundations of the Ruach of the sons of truth in the world. And the reward of those who walk in it, Qahalath. And it will be healing, refuth, your umbilical cord, your shore. Refuth health, it'll heal you and cure you from all your youthful sins. Plentiful peace and shalom. His chastisement brought you peace and shalom. You'll seek peace and pursue it. Fruitful offspring with an everlasting barak. You'll have children and you won't have no miscarriages and abort. Eternal enjoyment. You'll enjoy your life, enjoy your children, endless life. You'll enjoy your life. You'll have all the things you need. A crown of kabod. You'll get a crown just like he gave that woman. In the Ecclesiastes 16, he gave her a crown, didn't he? After he gave her all the things she needed. He said, I made you royalty. And majestic raiment in eternal life. And then he clothed her. He said, you were naked in bed. You were running around, your breasts were developed. I stood right next to you and I walked by and I covered you. He said, all this will be to you. However, the ruach of the seat belongs greed. She took all the gold and the silver and all the things I gave her, and she made an Elohim, another god, and worshipped it. She offered her children. She became a whore and a prostitute. She was like a brazen and she took strangers instead of her husband. But he said, you know what Yahushua said? While you was in your blood, when I was in my blood, I told you to live. While I was in my blood, while they beat me and put a crown of thorns and they smoked me and they punched me and they kicked me and they spit on me, I told you to live. I told you to live and walk in the new life. Guess what it says? Sluggishness, right? Haughtiness of heart, pride, arrogance, dishonesty, trickery, cruelty, much insecurity, impatience, much foolishness, impudent enthusiasm for appalling acts and a lustful passion, filthy paths of service and impurity, blasphemous tongue, blindness of eyes, hardness of hearing, stiffness of neck, hardness of heart, to walk in all the paths of evil, cunning, and the vegetation of those who walk in it will be abundant afflictions by the hand of the Malach of destruction, eternal damnation by scorching wrath of the Alahim of revenges, for permanent terror and shame without end, with humiliation of destruction of the dark regions. And all the ages of this generation, they shall spend in bitter weeping. Why do you think he was crying? And harsh evils in the abyss of the darkness until destruction, without there being a remnant or a survivor. You see that? So the testament of Zabulon coming to the end. 8 and 8. You also, my children, have compassion toward every person with mercy, in order that Yahuwah may be compassionate and merciful to you. Did they have compassion on him when you were born? And you called y'all 16? You said, no, you didn't have no compassion. When you were born, your umbilical cord wasn't cut. They didn't wash you with water. They didn't rub you with no Malach. He said, but I did. I washed you. I clothed you. I cut your umbilical cord. When you grew up, I walked around and I clothed you. He said that Yahuwah may be compassionate and merciful to you. In the last days, Yahuwah will send his compassion on the earth, and wherever he finds compassion and mercy, in that person he will dwell. You got to have it. He said, I want Yahuwah to be on the inside of me, have compassion and mercy. To the extent that a man or a woman has compassion to his neighbor, to the extent that Yahuwah has compassion on him or her. For when he saw me, he was moved with compassion. Then he saw her. He said, man, it was a time of love. And he will move with compassion. He clothed her, and he clothed her nakedness. He gave her nose jewels. He gave her bracelets. He gave her change of clothes. He gave her money. He gave her a crown. He gave her royalty. He said, man, it was a time of love. I give you rings. I covered you. He says, whomsoever you see, do not harbor resentment, my children. He could have harbored that resentment against them, but he didn't. Love on one another, and do not calculate the wrong done by each other, brothers and sisters. This shatters unity and scatters all kinship and stirs up the soul. He who recalls evil receives neither compassion nor mercy. Now you see why Yahushua didn't. Because he was recalling all the evil that people have done after Yahuwah delivered one. After he delivered, he was recalling all the evil. And he said, you know what? I'm going to be that for you. So while I'm wallowing in my blood and all these things are happening to me, I'm saying to you, man, woman, live. Colossians 3 and 5, or Colossians 3 and 1. If you then be raised with Mashiach, seek those things which are above, where Mashiach is seated at the right hand of Elohim, Yahuwah. Set your minds on things above, and not on things on the earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Mashiach in Yahuwah Elohim. When Mashiach, who is your life, appears, then you will appear with him in kabod. Put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you: sexual immorality, impurity, evil desire, covetousness, and idolatry. That's the same thing you read about. He said, after I did all these things, this person trusted in her beauty. They trusted in her flesh, and they forsook me. So he said, you know what? You got to put all these things away. On account of these, the wrath of Yahuwah is coming. In these you too once walked, when you were living in them. But now you must put them all away: anger, wrath, malice, slander, obscene talk from your mouth. Do not lie one to another. Who teach all these things? Satan. He teach error and doubt. and all types of sin. So if you put these things away, he will no longer be attracted to you. He's not going to be attracted to you. The only reason people say, why are the people in my past attracted to me after I become a new person? You know why? Because you're still the same person. That's why they're still attracted to you. Because you're still the same person. Do not lie once on the scene that you have put off the old self with its practices, and now put on the new self, which is being renewed in the knowledge after the image of its creator. After the image and likeness. Here there is no Greek, Yehudi, circumcised, uncircumcised, barbarian, Scythian, free. But Mashiach is on all. Put on then as Yahuwah's chosen ones, Kadosh and beloved and compassionate hearts. Don't be like a Canaanite, a Hittite, and an Amorite in the land of Canaan. When a child is born, leave it still attached to the umbilical cord, leave it wallow in the blood. Don't wash it, and don't put no Malach or salt on it. You got to have your conversation. See, don't be like them. Why? Because if you do, you're not Yahuwah's chosen one. He said compassionate heart. He said they had no compassion or pity on me. They didn't. He says kindness, humility, meekness, patience, bearing one another, and if anyone has a complaint against another, forgiving each other as Yahuwah has forgiven you. So you also must forgive. And above all these, put on love. Put it on. Don't let love and faithfulness depart from you. Put it on. Which binds everything together in perfection. And let the shalom, the peace of Mashiach, rule in your mind, your heart. Why? Because if you don't let him rule in your heart and your mind, you'll be just like Yekaziel said, how sick is your heart? Because he came, remember, he said Yahusha heals your diseases, your sick mind, your sick heart. But if you don't have him in your mind, and that the word of Mashiach dwell in you richly, if you don't let it dwell in your rule in your mind, then guess what happens? You be sick. You just like Yekaziel, you will fulfill that. How sick is your mind? You gotta let him rule. He has to rule your mind. He has to. To which indeed you are called into one body, Akkad. Or how you say? Liba. Liba. One. One Elohim. The only wise Elohim. There's only one Elohim, Yahuwah, who rules all other Elohims. One master who rules all masters. And guess what it says? And be thankful. And be thankful. If you're not thankful, you know what's going to happen? You're going to trust in your own beauty. You're going to trust in your flesh if you're not thankful. Let the word of Mashiach dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom. Singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs. Spiritual songs, it'll strengthen you, especially in your life, in your mind, with thankfulness in your hearts to Yahuwah. And whatever you do, in word or deed, do everything. Everything. In the name of Yadon Yahusha, giving thanks to Yahuwah, the Av, through him. Right? It's ODE, Shalom, ODE 11 and 1. ODE of Odes of Solomon. My heart was pruned and the flower appeared. Then Yahuwah's Khan sprang up in it, and it produced fruits to Yahuwah. For the Most High Yahuwah circumcised me by his Kadosh Ruach. Then he uncovered my inward being toward him and filled me with his love. You gotta let love bind it. You gotta bind it on the side of you. You can't let love and faithfulness forsake you. You can't let Ahaba, Libe Fikri Amor, Ahumbu. You can't let love leave. He filled you with love. And the circumcision became my salvation. That's what the bar is. That's why he came to Thomas on the 8th day. 8 days later, he said, believe.
Put your hand on my side. Believe this salt, this Malach. Believe this salt. Secure yourself in it. Believe the nails that you see. Believe the piercing. And guess what he said? He says, and the circular line became my salvation. I ran in the way of his shalom, in the way of truth. From the beginning unto the end, I received his knowledge. He said he received it. And I was established upon the rock of truth, where he has set me. He said, I walked into a wise man who built his house on a rock. He built his house on a rock. And it says, and I was established upon a rock of truth, where he has set me. He said, from the beginning unto the end, I received his knowledge. Like, my children, listen to me. And I will teach you the fear of Yahuwah. And I was established upon the rock of truth, where he has set me. And speaking waters touched my lips from the springs of Yahuwah generously. And so I drank and became intoxicated from the living water that does not die. It don't die. The living water don't die. He said his wisdom will come down just like water. His kukma. Just like water. It don't die. And my intoxication was not with ignorance, but I abandoned vanity. I abandoned vanity. Why? Because he saw something greater than his vanity. He said, living water don't die. Man, the bar come down like rain and snow. He said, so the bar that go out of his mouth, it's not going to return without producing something. It'll become your intoxication. He said, from the beginning to the end, I received this knowledge. This is Tahalim, Psalms 107, 21 to 31. Let them thank Yahuwah for his steadfast love and for his wondrous works to the children of Adam. And let them offer sacrifices of thanksgiving and tell of his deeds in songs of joy. Some went down to the sea in ships, doing business on the great waters. They saw the deeds of Yahuwah, his wondrous works in the deep. For he commanded and raised the stormy wind, which lifted up the waves of the sea. They mounted up to Shamaim. It says they went down to the depths. Their courage melted away in their evil plight. They reeled and staggered like drunken men, and were at their wits' end. Then they cried to Yahuwah. The eyes of Yahuwah upon the righteous, the ears are open to their cry. He cried to Yahuwah in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. Master, Master, you don't care that we perish? You don't see the winds and the waves? He said, how long do I have to be with you? He said, the eyes of Yahuwah upon the right, his ears are open to their cry. I will never turn my face to them, I know. He said, Shalom. He said to the winds and the waves, Shalom. He said, what manner of ish is this, that even the winds and the waves obey him? Then they cried to Yahuwah, and he delivered from their trouble, and he delivered them out from their distress. And he made the storm be still. Shalom. And the waves of the sea were hushed. Shalom. Then they were glad, and the waters were quiet. Shalom. And he brought them to their desired haven. Shalom. Let them thank Yahuwah for his steadfast love. Let not faithfulness and love forsake you. Bind it on your heart. Don't let it leave. Let the shalom of Mashiach rule in your hearts. Let it rule your mind. For his wondrous works to the children of Adam. Continue on, Talim 107, 32 through 43. Let them extol him in the congregation of the people, or the Aydah, or the assembly, right? And praise him in the assembly of the elders. He turns rivers into a desert, and springs of water into a thirsty ground. Why you think when he told Yahushua, he said, I thirst. He was a spring of water. He said, I'll give you a spring of water, a spring of everlasting life. But Yahuwah turned it into a thirsty ground, and he said, I thirst. He turned a river into a desert. He said, you're going to be like a shrub in the desert. But he said, I thirst. And he gave him something to drink. But that's what it says. Ground, it says, he says, turn springs of water into a thirsty ground, a fruitful land into a salty waste because of the evil of its inhabitants. That's the only reason you become salty. You salty person. He say salty on the inside because of the evil that you're doing. Ra. He said, turn away from evil, Ra, and do good, that you won't be salty anymore. He said, I'll turn you into an uninhabited salt land. But he said, it's because you trust in your flesh. But he said, if you trust, Barak are those who trust in Yahuwah. Guess what he said? Guess what he said? Also, he said, he turns a desert into pools of water, and a parched land into springs of water. And there he lets the hungry dwell, and they establish a city to live in. They sow fields and plant vineyards, and get a fruitful yield. By his Barak they multiply greatly, and he does not let their livestock diminish. When they are diminished and brought low through oppression, evil, and sorrow, he pours contempt on the princes and makes them wander in trackless waste. But he raises up the needy out of affliction and makes their families like flocks. Here we go. The upright see it and are glad. And all the wickedness shuts its mouth. And all wickedness shuts its mouth. Yahuwah do all that with water. He said, my wisdom, and that we read in the first thing we talked about, shall drop down like water, like me. It's going to drop down like water, like rain and snow. And he said, I'm going to make all wickedness shut its mouth. Why do you think Yahushua didn't answer nothing? He said, you don't hear all these things they say about you? He answered them not a word. He said, I'll make all your wickedness shut its mouth. And guess what he says? Whoever is wise, are you wise? Let him attend to these things. Let them consider the steadfast love of Yahuwah. Let not faithfulness and love forsake you. My son, do not forget the commandment of your father and the teaching of your mother. For Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only son, his ben, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but will have a fruitful land. And their saltiness will be turned to be seasoned correctly, and it will bring forth life within. Whosoever believes in him, that he gave his only son. Whosoever believes will not perish, but have everlasting life. They'll be like a tree planted by rivers of living water. They'll shoot forth its roots, and they will not be afraid during drought, because their leaves will remain green, nor in famine when it's dry, because they continue to bear fruit. This is a scene of Yahushua, sevenfolds of Shalom. As the sheaf of the golden wheat lieth hidden within the tiny kernel, so is the Malkuth of Shamayim hidden within our thoughts. If they be filled with the power of love and wisdom of the Malachim of Shamayim Father, so shall they also carry us to the Shamayim heavenly sea, or the Yam. But if they be stained with corruption, hatred, and ignorance, they shall chain our feet to pillars of pain and suffering. No man can serve two masters. You can't serve hatred and ignorance and corruption. You can't be corrupted. You can't serve love and wisdom at the same time. You got to choose. Neither can an evil thought, right? An evil or raw thought, raw makashaba, abide in the lave, the lob, or the libah, with a mind that's filled with the light of the Torah. It can't abide there. It can't stay there. Neither can an evil thought abide in the mind with the light of the Torah. The ore of the Torah. He who hath found shalom, peace, shalom, with the mind, with your mind, hath learned, that's the part, learned to soar beyond the realm of the Malachim. Know this shalom with thy heart, with thy mind. Because if you don't know it with your heart and your mind, you're going to be like your Qahalath. How sick is your mind? But Yahusha said, I have come not to those who are well. I came to those who are sick. I came to heal those who are sick. For they that are whole don't need a physician, but they that are sick in heart. We were all sick, and we needed a physician, Yahushua Mashiach, to come and heal us because we were sick in our mind. And sometimes, even today, our sicknesses try to come back. They try. But Yahushua, in his compassion, has to remind us what he did. And he has to season us with salt, that our conversation may be with salt, that the waters may be healed this very day. Today, if you hear his voice, harden not your heart. The last part, fulfill this shalom with thy body. Know this peace, the shalom with your heart. Fulfill this shalom with thy body. Right? Because know ye not that your body is a temple of the Ruach HaKadosh? Don't you know that the Ruach of Yahuwah dwells in you? That what you've heard from the beginning abides in you. And if what you've heard from the beginning abides in you, you will be in the Father and you will be in the Son. Know this peace with your mind, your heart. Fulfill it with your body. Man, woman, child. For he giving you a body to dwell in. Because he was everything wrong with you. And he fulfilled all those things. And he giving you life this day. And you have, if you will believe, if you don't let Satan steal it from you, if you don't let him steal it from you and teach you and get you to doubt, to teach you sin and get you to err, if you don't let him do it, you don't let him take it, then you will bear fruit to everlasting life, to life, in your life, in your mind, to other people, and you'll overflow from the top of your mountain, that it may flow down from your mountain, and you'll overflow to water the animals, to water the plants. You'll overflow to water other people in your life. And that those words that you speak, and those things that you speak will be seasoned with salt, Malach, and it will be healing, not only to a person, to a woman, to a man, woman, child, but those who trust in their flesh, those who trust in their beauty, those who took strangers instead of the husbands, those who went whoring, those who went out. All these things you can be healed from. Those evil thoughts, those evil raw thoughts, those evil plots, those purposes, those thoughts in your mind. Yahushua Mashiach, if one receives it, today, if you hear his voice, harden not your heart. He healed you if you receive it. So this Yom, we acknowledge the one who gives life, the one who gave his son, and who gave us understanding. For the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth.